Welcome to the Naked Coach Collective. We're not just your average coaches, we're your powerhouse of inspiration and your no-nonsense guide to unlocking your hidden potential. We are an eclectic mix of four, each with a unique journey, but we share a passion for transformation through coaching. Tune in every week for topical discussions and witty banter on all things coaching. There might be a few laughs along the way too, but don't be fooled. We're serious about helping you navigate life's twists and turns with clarity and confidence. Are you ready? Sit back, relax, and immerse yourself in the Naked Coach Collective podcast.
Let's just sort my hair out. I'm actually a little sad that you've not noticed. I get in trouble when I don't notice ladies have had their hair done.
Have you
I
had
brushed
yours
my beard
done
in a different direction this morning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I thought, let's brush it in. Why not? Try and give this very round face some kind of angle. But no.
We're going for a chin angle, are we?
Trying to give myself a chin instead of just this pie face. Yeah,
I hope you're not likening me to a dog, Ian.
I'm definitely not. I knew I'd put my foot in my mouth at some point. Let's finish it there before I say something else. Sorry, anyway, let's start. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Naked Coach Collective, or collection, as our friend Dee likes to say. You're here with myself, Ian, and we are interviewing not a special guest, but a special lady, Belinda Warburton, who is my co-host, and we're going to dive into Belinda's story, how she became a coach, what led her into coaching, a bit of background, and anything else that takes a fancy, really. So, hello, Belinda, or B.
Hello, yeah, B would be good. I mean, I'm known as Belinda on my channels, but if you like me, you'll call me B.
I do feel weird calling you Belinda. It just doesn't sound right when I say it.
No, you're too used to calling me B, so it's fine.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yes, it's exciting times for us at the moment. Lots going on with the podcast, which is fabulous, and really really pleased that can I say this? I think I mentioned it, or I suggested it, and thought it would be a good idea for us all to work together, because we've been working together for so long and it works, and we're so good together in terms of like helping each other, supporting each other, and actually sharing really good stuff that we learn. And there's never been, the one thing I love about our dynamics, I suppose, as a group, is there's no jealousy, there's no, oh, you're doing that and I can't. It's not like that at all. It's just totally supportive, funny, and just genuinely a really beautiful connection that the four of us have had. Hence, why I thought it would be really good for us to work together. But of course, we are all individuals within that as well.
Yep.
And we all have our individual coaching businesses. And I think from that perspective, it shows how different we are as people, but how much we connect as people as well through our sort of shared interests and our shared journeys, etc. So yeah, I'm good, thank you. I am very good and enjoying life at the moment.
Good. So before we dive into your coaching, tell us a little bit about yourself for our listeners who do not know you.
Okay, so I'm B. I am midlife lady, for want of a better word. I don't feel it. My body probably tells me that, but my brain tells me I'm still 21. So I was the youngest of three sisters, born into a very normal family, mum, dad, and us three. And I'm quite a bit younger, actually, 9 years between me and my eldest sister. You could say I was probably an afterthought or a mistake. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And grew up in a very sort of pretty normal household, and life was good. Went to school. Very different dynamics in our household, I would say. So my eldest sister and my mum, both very slim, sort of tall. Mandy, really, really bright. My eldest sister, really clever lady. in terms of academically, she can do stuff and without even sort of thinking about it. I was always, really envious of that. And then me and Nikki, very much like my dad, sort of shorter, stockier, a little bit more rounded. And unfortunately for my sister, so Nikki, who was 6 years older than me, she was put on a diet at 8 years old. So at the time I would have been 2. And my whole life I grew up with knowing about diets, knowing about how to not be happy with yourself, how to always want something different. And I sort of led my life really for quite some time. So I'm the creative one of the 3. Nikki was, she always wanted to get married and have children, and she's got beautiful children and that. But I was the creative one. I didn't want to get married, and I wanted to be an actress and a singer and a dancer and, everything creative you could throw at me. And I did all of that throughout my years of school. And then for a lot of people, for a lot of eras, even my parents and school teachers, that wasn't a career. That was something you did if you came from a very wealthy background and you didn't have to do a proper job. And so when I got to 16 and thought, right, I'm going to go to drama college, I'm going to be an actress, and my mum particularly said to me, that's not a job. What do you mean that's not a job? It's not a job. It's not a job for someone like you. And I think if I analyze that now, probably one of my first limiting beliefs, along with the, you should always strive to be somebody else diet sort of area. And that sort of really shaped my future from there. I think I internalized that more as I'm not good enough. And that has definitely been very much the biggest part of my life. And I just moseyed into jobs from there, in and out of different jobs, different types of jobs. I always did really well in them, but I got bored very, very quickly because I wasn't doing something that I particularly loved. I did it well, and I think I did it well. I did every job well because of that. I wasn't good enough, so I had to prove myself somehow. I got married, even though I didn't want to. So I did get married the first time round, and I had quite a nice life. I mean, it wasn't awful. My husband was nice. It wasn't abusive. We earned good money and that, but I was never, ever happy. So the Belinda that you see now, she's fairly steady most of the time. She has her ups and downs like everybody. That wasn't the Belinda then. She was either really, really high or really, really low. And when she was really low, she was thinking not great thoughts. Okay. And that went on for a few years. And then I took the decision that just one day, something in my mind was saying, what would it be like if I wasn't here anymore? And I think that was, for me, it scared me into thinking, what the hell are you thinking? And I just suddenly thought, I need help. And for me to ask for help is a really big thing. I don't like asking for help. Not even now. I find it really, really hard to ask for help now. I'm pretty independent. And so, I asked for help. I didn't go to the doctors. I was too embarrassed. So I just secretly, even my husband didn't know at the time, I just secretly looked for therapists. And I went into therapy for 2 years. Trying to sort out where all of it came from, all of my sort of dislike of myself, and and anybody listening here probably already can guess where it all came from. All the limiting beliefs, all the I needed to be somebody that I wasn't, and I needed to do normal jobs and earn money, get married, have children, have a mortgage, have a car. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I do have that now. I don't have children, but I do have the rest. But because I'd never felt that way about it, it made me unhappy. And the 2 years of therapy ended up with me leaving my first husband and coming back towards home. And then I met what is now my second husband. But that was very much from a basis of choice rather than I had to. Okay. And he was my childhood sweetheart. So that probably everybody goes, oh, that's so romantic. But actually it made it more complicated because he also had young children, which were not on my, he was divorced then, but young children weren't on my radar. So that made it more complicated for us. And I would say, having embarked on that relationship, I will say one thing: you really need to know that you love somebody when they've got children by somebody else, because it tests your relationship to the absolute hill. And it did. But it, you know, I'm a pretty strong girl. I bounced back, and I've had a lot of things that have tested me, and that particular thing was, testing for me. But I then sort of embarked on a journey of losing weight. And then I still haven't found I still doing various jobs, to be fair. And then when I embarked on the journey of losing weight, I started to work for the company, and I became in managerial capacity. And I thought it was great. I thought, oh, this is fabulous, yeah, I've lost the weight, I've done it all, I've made it. And then the weight started going back on. My husband had a really serious accident, and they told me he might die overnight. And all of a sudden, this world that I knew just turned upside down. And I just didn't know how to deal with it. And I just went into overdrive. I just did what Belinda always does: just ignore it and just carry on. I think that was, so therapy had taught me a lot about my past, but it certainly hadn't taught me how to cope with my future. Yeah, so he, thankfully, touch wood, he did survive, and we got through it. But I was still not feeling great, still putting on weight, and my company, who I worked for, had no empathy whatsoever for that. It was either you were doing the journey or you weren't. You were either on the diet or you weren't. And I had to go to the doctors in the end, being really poorly. I was 38. And I went and I had some blood tests and went back in, and male doctor in front of me goes, you're going through menopause. And it was a matter of fact, it was literally just like that. Now I knew I'd heard of it, but I didn't know what it was. I mean, my mum didn't talk about those kind of things. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and I just sat there and I went, no, I don't think so. I'm 38. Yeah, I know it's early. And then the complications, if you've had perimenopause very early, you'll know the complications that come with that as a female. And it was awful. I have never felt so, I mean, initially there's that, I feel so old, I can't have children anymore. It takes away the essence of what you believe yourself to be as a woman, I think, is how I would explain it. But I did get past it. I did get through it, started to feel a bit better once they got the medication and everything right. And thought, right, okay, this is it. And I left my job. Okay, so I decided I wanted to spend more time with my husband, who was still sort of like coming out the other side of his accident. And I started my own business without a clue about business. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Just knew what I liked to sell and decided to sell it. But came with that some growth for me as well as a person, which was good, because I started to think about how I could grow, how I could become stronger, how I could become more me, how I could shape my future. So embarked on like what is now fundamentally part of my daily routines, but then was like I was just trying and testing things. You know what it's like, and you go in, you have a look at something, you think, oh, I'll have a go at that, and I've got, but without any real plan, no real goal, no real sort of structure, just doing bits and pieces. Oh, that makes me feel good, I'll do a bit more of that, or I won't do that. I also had started that point to really move away from the diet industry, move away from trying to change my body, trying to be someone else. I started to realize that actually all of that trying to be somebody else just made me so unhappy. And that actually, I was worth trying to be me. Actually, me wasn't that bad after all. I always labeled myself as stupid because my elder sister was clever. I always labeled myself as heartless because I wasn't sort of into the marriage and kiddies and all of that. But actually, I'm none of those things. I am not stupid. I am not heartless. I'm just me. And my journey to me began pretty much there. And yeah, and then lockdown came. That was my pivotal moment for me, really big moment for me. Thought I was going to lose my business, really, really scared, worried, and propelled by my colleague who worked with me then, told that basically, our business is bricks and mortar. Yes, we've got a website, but customers come to speak to us, to get advice from us, to chat to us. And that isn't just about clothing. I mean, it's like a little coffee hub. You know what I mean by that, for women.
Yeah.
And literally, she said, you've got to get online. That filled me with horror, absolute horror. It started flooding back. My body confidence issues started flooding back. My God, people are going to say I'm fat. What, that stupid woman with pink hair, that all of these things started going in my head. And I had this argument, like text argument with her over about 2 days about why I couldn't. And you know what? I got to the point, as I do often, I got so fed up with telling myself why I couldn't. I just wrote down on a pad, do I want to lose my business or do I want to keep it? Similar wording to that. And it's like, the answer's obvious, isn't it? So I jumped into doing videos, and when I look back now, they were so amateur. Oh my God, they were just awful, but they were real and they were me. And in COVID, people just wanted to have that connection still, didn't they? It was like they couldn't have it physically. So that's what I did. And I didn't even do all clothing videos. I mean, I'd just sit there and chat about how I was getting on and how lockdown wasn't great for me. Mother-in-law had moved in, and my stepson had moved in the Christmas, and my husband was still going to work because he could, and I was just had all these people around me that like were very needy of me, and there I am trying to make sure I've got a business still. So it was a really tough time. And then, of course, that went on for 2 years, on and off, and really played with my emotions. However, I would say the video thing got better, easier, and I actually got to a point where I actually enjoyed it. I liked going on, and it was, yeah. And when the shop back opened up, we just carried on doing them every Monday morning, a live video every Wednesday. Different outfit, different this, chit chat. It's also easier when you've got someone else with you, of course, because you can bounce off somebody, as we find with our 4 podcast. But it got easier, and I stopped even thinking about it, even worrying about it. And I never spent 5 hours doing my hair like I did in the beginning, or re-recording the videos to the nth degree so that they were pitch perfect, voice perfect, that just sort of stopped. And I love that. And then 2021 came, and I spoke about this on a video recently of ours, and that's how I find myself becoming a coach. So 2021 came, and my sister, who'd been isolating, she was bad asthmatic. She phoned me. Her husband had contracted COVID. She contracted COVID 2 days later, couldn't keep her oxygen levels up. They took her into hospital 2 days later, and she died a week later. And it affects me still now, as you can see. And that was absolutely the lowest point of my life. This is my sister who was like me. We were kindred spirits. We were the two in the family that knew what it was like to be overweight and unhappy with yourself. And she'd never found happiness. She was on a diet the week before she died. She had never found that happiness with herself, that love of herself, that she was such a beautiful person. And I just went into overdrive. My brother-in-law found it really, really hard, difficult. My niece and nephew, so her children, I'm very close to both of them. But me and Poppy this is my niece, just went into overdrive, organised the funeral, just so many things. And I never really thought about myself through that whole process. It just wasn't important at that time. Or I believed it wasn't, shall I say. And then lockdown finished, opened back up, started back on the business, trying to propel it back into, and the second lockdown was much harder than the first lockdown, and the businesses didn't propel back like they had before. So it was all very different. Wasn't until the end of that year when I went away. I ran away for Christmas, literally, because I thought running away would be the best thing to do, because I didn't want to do Christmas without my sister around. And Christmas Day morning came. My husband was in bed. I'm an early riser, and I just got out a book and started writing a journal, and the tears just didn't stop. And they didn't stop for a while, on and off. So I had grief counselling. I applied for grief counselling. I had to wait a while for it. and I did get it. And in the process of getting that, coaching appeared on my screen. I don't know how, why, because I never thought about it. Maybe it's because I was looking at therapy. And I thought, what the hell, coaching? Coaching, that's about sports coaching. That's people who coach people to like achieve things. Didn't realize that that coaching could achieve what it does achieve, actually. And I started looking into it, joined Coaching Masters on their sort of like Coach Flicks, played around, did the certification, coach certification, and this was all while I was having the grief counselling. But the one thing that I did then was I took that grief counselling finished, and I realised that that was great. That had helped me deal with sort of all the guilt and stuff around my sister. But what it wasn't doing was pushing me forward. Where was I going to go next? What was I doing with this? Because for so long, I just thought I want to be with my sister. Maybe I should be with my sister. And so when I started embarking on the coaching, I realised that I could actually do something that I could still live without her. Yeah, that's really hard. It's hard every day, and it doesn't change. And people say it gets easier, and maybe it does, or maybe I just get more used to it. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it has given me the strength to become a stronger person, to become more myself, to learn more about myself, to value myself more, to not give a flying, I'm going to swear now, sorry, warning, not to give a flying fuck about what other people think about me. And that has given me the biggest self-worth ever, is to realize that I am more than enough just as I am. I am good enough, and I can absolutely help other women feel the same. And, you know, just a shame that maybe I hadn't found it before my sister passed away. But I can't live. I do also know I can't live in the past. I can only live with the now and shape what happens tomorrow and the day after.
Yeah. Well, that is a bit of an epic story, to be honest, B. And there's so many things you were talking about then that we could dive into, but obviously because of time constraints, we can only do so much. But I'll pick up on them later.
Yes.
But first, why don't you tell people about what you do as a coach, who you help, and where you're slightly making a bit of a pivot with your
Yeah, so
coaching
this has
business
been
as
an
well.
interesting journey for me. So I did the so after the certification, I did the accreditation where I met you fabulous guys. Yeah, and it's fabulous because I met so many great people and got so much experience to coach on that particular course. So, you know, if I'd have embarked on a course where I was just doing it from just notes and paperwork and stuff, it would not have worked for me. I am not good at that. I am good with people. I'm good at interaction. So having that interaction all the way through was great. Came out the other end and they were like, you know, I had this passion to do to coach in body confidence, to help women find who they are, to be really happy with who they are as a person, but then find out what they want to do next. Because there is a difference. It's all right saying, oh, you know, you need to be happy with who you are as a person, but then you're stuck, aren't you? Then you've just become happy with who you are and you don't really have a goal or an aim. And I'm a busy woman. I like to be busy. I like to have goals. I like to have aims. I like to have things to achieve. As Ian's smiling away here.
I do know.
Yeah, I'm a bit like I think sometimes, you know, you put a Duracell. I feel like I put a Duracell battery in myself and wind myself up, and off I go. So give me the direction, and I'll do it. So I started out just purely as body confidence, and then realised through coaching some lovely women that actually it's much more than that. And I think this is where I've grown, and I've sort of swerved now. And it's still body confidence. There's still, for me, that underpins everything. Okay, because I lived so long, so unhappy with who I was, trying to be somebody else. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there is a huge amount of people who live like that, who try and be something they're not or somebody else, because either they don't feel good enough about themselves or they don't think they're enough. It's 100 reasons, I suppose. But for me, that is transcended into me finding my voice. So I've always had a voice. But like I said, I was either the really high B, the party girl, or the really low B, very, very depressed. And that's not the voice I'm talking about. The voice I'm talking about is the one that can speak with passion and heartfelt joy at what I'm actually doing and what I actually can help women, support women to achieve. It's not help, support, whatever you want to call it. And so I now am, my mantra is build your body confidence, find your voice, because they are definitely hand in hand, without a shadow of a doubt. And, that find your voice could be like, for me, I've been through, oh my God, I can't show up on social media for my business, to absolutely, I can show up on social media for my business. And actually, if my business is that important, then I will show up on social media. So if it's to help you show up on social media, if it's to help you give a presentation at work, if it's to help you find your voice within your family unit, within your friends unit, to say no when you keep saying yes to things, or vice versa. So yeah, so mine is like a sort of, maybe it's more of a whole thing than it was before. It is that, one thing leads to another kind of thing. So build your body confidence, which builds your confidence, which then gives you the confidence to use your voice use your voice powerfully to affect change, good change.
Excellent. And if I may, you're taking another slight pivot as well, starting now and moving forward as well. Why don't you tell people about that?
I'm sorry. Am I going mad?
Oh, you're not doing speaking anymore.
Oh,
You're
God,
not going to go down the speaking route anymore then.
Sorry, no, you're right.
That,
So yeah, the one thing I also found out recently, having been on a course, and you're right, Ian, sorry, I'm like, I just see it as all one thing, I suppose. And that's, I just see it all as part of what I'm going to grow the business into. So yeah, I went on a course recently, and oh my God, I actually was sitting in an audience of people I didn't know. I went totally on my own, and it was a course about coaching. Well, it wasn't just for coaches, actually. This was a business type course, and there was a gentleman there, and he is a TEDx speaker. And I was, and he was speaking on stage, doing stuff on stage, and towards the end of the day, he said, "Right, okay, who wants to be coached by me?" And I just like, "Oh yeah," because I was like so enthralled with him, thought he was great. Put my hand up. I go up thinking I'm going to sit be coached, we know coaching. And he said, "Right, here's the mic, talk to the audience for 90 seconds. I was like, what? It's like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? Is that like, oh my God. I just took the mic and I did it. Now, I didn't do it well. I'm not going to say I did, because I really didn't. And he coached me afterwards about what I did well and what I didn't do well. But you know what? The great thing about that was I didn't come away going, like I would have done in the past, I'm crap, I can't do it. I came away going, maybe I didn't do that well, but oh my God, I loved it. It was fabulous. I love talking to people. I love just that group environment. I just everything. It was just amazing. And so yeah, so that's my next little pivot, I suppose, but it's going to be on my subject, absolutely. And it's going to be talking about building your body confidence, finding your voice, how you can use that for real good in the world. Yeah, so that's really exciting. And I'm going on a speaker course in the not too distant future, but I'm starting now. I mean, part of me goes, oh, you should wait for the course. But as a coach, I know the best thing to do is just take action. Imperfect action, right? It's the best thing you can do. It's the best way to start, and you get better. Let's face it, if you're a if you have a growth mindset as a coach, and if you haven't, then I'm not sure why you're a coach. Just say that. Then absolutely, that you will grow into everything that you do, and you will get better and better and better at it, which is great. So yeah.
Excellent. And that kind of leads me into my next kind of thing, which I want to pick up from what you said earlier, which was about taking that imperfect action. And when you were talking and you were saying how your first videos for social media were awful, it kind of took me back to one of my very first ones, when I kind of was like just putting out there that I was a coach when I first started, and I posted the video and it was upside down.
I remember that. It was. I think you got so many comments just for being upside down.
Just for being upside down, yeah. And I thought, oh well, there you go. I mean, if you could ever mess something up, then I think that's it. But I think it goes to show that I obviously don't post them upside down now, so you do get
Maybe
better.
you
You do
should.
get better at these things. I'm kind of living proof of that. But it's so important to take that imperfect action. I just wondered whether you could talk about that a little bit more, for kind of people who are out there and not just want to be coaches, but people who have got something in their life that they want to do, but they're scared to take that first step because they feel like they're maybe not good enough and that kind of thing.
That I mean, I think perfectionism, and that's what I would call it. There are two levels of, there is good perfectionism, and there is bad perfectionism. So the good perfectionism is where you are doing something that you really love, you're really passionate about, and you do it to your best of your ability. That's good perfectionism, okay? But bad perfectionism is what stops you from doing. And I think that's the way I look at it. So it's like when the video thing first came up, it's what actually stops you from doing is the fear. Okay, so the fear builds the perfectionism. I believe it's that way around. So you start off the fear with, well, I can't because, and that because generally is, oh, I don't know enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not versed in that, I need to learn more before I put anything out, because if I put it out now, people will laugh, and then that won't sort of, it's that role, and you can see it's like a spiral. And unless you know how to stop that spiral, you will always live in it, and it will affect everything that you want to do with your life. Okay, and it doesn't matter if it's coaching, it doesn't matter if it's traveling, which you would know about, Ian, it doesn't matter if it's to get married, it doesn't matter if it's to have children. You'll always be saying, I mean, the amount of people who say, well, I can't have children yet because we haven't got enough money, you know, things like that. You'll never have enough money. Children are expensive. You know, in the nicest format. You know, I'll wait to go traveling because I haven't, you know, because if I leave my job now, what if I don't get another job when I come back, you know, that kind of thing. There'll never be a right time. Okay, I'll wait until I've learned more. You'll never learn enough, because if you ever stop learning, then you've stopped, life has stopped, in my personal opinion. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can always learn something. So I think that's what it is for me. It's that stopping that cycle. And what I did was I stopped the cycle by saying, and I've just put out a video to this, actually, ask yourself 2 questions. And those questions are, what are the consequences of not doing this? That's one really big question. I think if you can answer that, that will push you through to do. Because if it doesn't, then whatever it is you want to do, you don't want it enough. Because if you want something enough and you ask yourself the question, what are the consequences of not doing this? Then you should really come up with the answer. And that answer would be, I won't achieve what I want. And if I don't achieve what I want, will that make me unhappy? Yes, it will make me unhappy. Will I be stuck where I am? Yes, I will be stuck where I am. That's bad perfectionism.
Have you ever experienced it? You know, that feeling, the one that says, I'm not good enough. And not just once, it's become part of your everyday life without you even realising it. You've become small because of it. You've stopped being you because of it. And the light that shone on your hopes and dreams has dimmed. You fear being you. You fear what others will think about the real you. And you fear speaking out. What if you could be just you? No airs, no graces, no people pleasing, no being what others want you to be, and no doing what others want you to do. Just be the true, authentic you. How great would that feel? One-to-one coaching with me, Belinda Warburton, will change your life. You'll stop playing small. You'll stop being small. And you'll start realising that the real, unique, authentic you is the only you that will give you the life that you will truly love. Why live small when you can live big? bigger than you have ever dreamed, and happier than you have ever known. You were born unique for a reason. Let me help you embrace it and use it to live your real life's purpose, not someone else's version of your life. I've been Belinda Warburton, and if you have resonated with me, I want you to reach out to me at www.belindawarburton.com, where you'll find all the ways that you can connect with me. Come on, let's do this. Start living your big life today. And now back to the show.
Yeah, I feel like that's really good advice, and kind of touches on a point which I kind of talk to with my clients as well, is which you kind of just said, I'm just paraphrasing really, but it's more a case of your vision and your dream for what you want has to be bigger than your fear of achieving that dream and that vision.
Yeah.
And that kind of really hit home with me when I first heard it. I don't know where it was or who it was that said it. I just heard it in a clip somewhere on a podcast or something, and yeah, it's kind of stuck with me, and it's something that kind of one of my biggest kind of mantras, I suppose, is a word.
Yeah.
But I know we're pressed for time, but don't worry, I have let Dee know that we're going to be a little late into our meeting because we're recording this, so she can wait, I'm sure. But I want to just skip back a little bit to when you were talking about those moments when you were really down. The first time when you were really down, and you said you recognized that you needed help because of the kind of self-talk that you were having, and also the time just after your sister had died and you were struggling and you started journaling as well. What kind of things were you doing then that helped you recognize that you needed that help? I think that might be an important point for people out there who are potentially going through a similar thing.
Well, the first one, I was about 28. The first time I realized that this wasn't normal, and I'd had the thoughts before, but I'd always justified them, that then I'd come back up and be the happy-go-lucky Belinda and it'd be fine. So I'd always sort of justify them that way. But that thought that day that said, what if I wasn't here anymore? What if I just took that knife out of the kitchen and just did it? And I think, I don't know what it was with inside me, just thought, oh my God, that's awful. That is just awful. And you know what my first thought was? What a coward. And actually, I know that's not true anymore. But that was just how I felt at the time. And then I thought, this isn't normal, Belinda. Normal people don't live like this. They don't live with these highs and lows. And and my husband went through it with me as well, the highs and lows. Because when I had the lows, it affected every part of my life. I didn't want to go to work. I wouldn't go out because I'd go, no, I look fat, I'm not wearing that, I look fat, I'm ugly. Just this whole cycle. That's what it would be like. It wouldn't just be those thoughts. It would be this whole cycle of, I can't cook, I'm a shit cook, I'm not cooking dinner. It was it like affected my whole life. And I do totally believe if that thought hadn't have made me think, you're a coward, how dare you think like that? There are people in this world so much worse off than you. And actually, okay, so it's not the right thought, but it was the point that made me go, you need help, there's something wrong with you. And that's what got me the help. As I say, I know I don't believe that anymore at all, but it's whatever gets you the help. It's whatever makes you ask for the help, because like I said, I'd never asked for help, never. It was my one thing. We were brought up as really strong, independent women. I'd never asked for help. And so that was the first time around. The second time around was totally different. I hadn't really experienced grief up until that point. So I've lost animals and I love animals, so of course in that respect. But my nan and granddad died when I was very early 20s, and I hadn't got another nan and granddad. And I hadn't lost a family member at all. Not at all. Okay. So I knew my parents were getting older, obviously. And there comes a point when you do start to think, you know what, they're not going to be here forever. but it's a natural process and course of life. When my sister passed, it was so sudden, so quick. And she was 54 years old. I'll be that age in 2 years' time. And I'm not even thinking about not being here. Was she? Do you know what I mean? Is that question. And coming, like I said, I just went into overdrive. And I think it's because I didn't want to face the reality that I was never going to, I'm never going to see her again. I am never going to see her. I'm never going to feel her hugs. Her hugs were amazing. I'm not a great huggy person. She was. And even when I didn't want to be hugged, she would hug me, you know? And it's a huge missing piece in my life. Huge. But I also had this underlying feeling that she didn't want me to be like this, that she wouldn't have wanted me to live like that. And I also have this huge underlying feeling now that I'm left here for a reason, and that is to look after her children. Because when I was in my 20s and she had her first child, Ryan, in her later, she's about 26, I think, she said to me, I'm putting a will together because in case something happened to Paul and I, would you take on the children? She said, I know you don't want children young, but would you take on the children? And I said, of course I would. You don't even have to question it. And I always remember that now. And I think that was part of the reason I was like, I've got to be here for her children. She'd be so cross with me if I'm not here to support her children. And I think that's what propelled me to get the help, actually, was just like, yeah, I feel awful. Yes, I want to be with her. Yes, I can't hold her. Yes, I can't see her. I mean, I have her on my phone because I'm so worried I'm going to forget what she looks like. I won't, but you know, it's just there. But at the same time, there was this thing that said, Belinda, you're here for a reason. You're absolutely here for a reason. And in order to stay here, stay in good mental health and look after these two children, you need to, you know, and they're not children. They were 26 and 20, 29, 28 when their mum died. So that pushed me to go and get the help that I needed to be able to live every day. You know, there are days when I can talk about it without even shedding a tear and laugh. And, you know, we had such a fabulous life together. We really did. But there are days when I talk about it and it saddens me that she's not here to share this life with me. But I'll be there with her one day to share her life where she is now.
Lovely. Okay, so we're gonna have to start wrapping it up now. Dee's gonna start shouting at us.
I know my life is just it's been hectic, but it's been the driving force for me. The more I've bounced back up from the punches, the more I've learned about myself, the more I've become stronger. And I haven't become hard. That's not what I'm talking about. I've just become stronger to deal with things. And I think how you deal with the punches is how you deal with life. If you let them take you down to a point where you can't even get back, it means that you're not, how can I say this? But you understand what I'm trying to say. How you deal with the punches in life is how you're going to deal with life ultimately. And, you know, you can have a fabulous life. You can absolutely do what you want to do. You can absolutely fulfill your dreams. But you have to deal with the punches. You have to take them and then you have to go, right, how am I going to get back up from this? How am I going to sort this out? What's my next move? Rather than going, oh, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to wallow in this and oh, this is really bad. You've got to start, and it is bad when it happens. I am not going to tell you it isn't, you know, but you do have to start thinking, what's next? How can I deal with this? How can I get back up? How can I use this to make me stronger? How can I use this to help other people? That's how I see how my life has been. So my life has happened. People say, oh, it's happening to me. No, I believe it's happened for me because it's brought me to where I am today.
Yeah. There's and just to kind of finish off on a bit of a cheesy saying, which I also like as well. It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog,
Absolutely.
which I always love and kind of yeah.
I
one of
hope you're
my
not
other
likening me
mantras.
to a dog, Ian.
I'm definitely not. I knew I'd put my foot in my mouth at some point. Let's finish
This is
it
why
there
we get on so well.
before I say something else. So just to wrap it up then, B.
Yeah.
Where can people get in touch with you, and kind of inquire about working with you?
Okay, so I am Belinda Warburton, and you will find me under that name on all my socials. Belinda Warburton, Female Empowerment Coaches, as I am branded. So I have a website, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have TikTok. I am currently building my YouTube channel after some much inspiration from a course that I went on. And of course, through the Naked Coach Collective.
I wondered whether you were going to say that then.
Of course I was
like,
going to
hello.
say that. This has been my introduction into speaking, really, hasn't it? So...
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, Belinda. It still feels weird calling you
You can
Belinda.
say B, it's fine. It's just that I think on my socials I use Belinda because it is a bit more there's a lot of people call themselves B. So it's just it underpins who I am. That is my name. But most people call me B. And I would love, if you've resonated with me, can I just say, I'd love you to get in touch. If you need to build your confidence, build your body confidence, find your voice, come find me. I'd love to help you.
All right. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening in or watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, then please get over there and start watching. It's a lot more fun than just listening. And yeah, thank you for joining us on another episode of the Naked Coach Collective. And remember, we keep forgetting to say this actually, B.
We do.
Our little tagline at the end of the episodes. I've noticed we've never do it. We've done it once and it was an epic failure.
Well,
so we'll do it now. Let's try and time it. You ready?
Yeah. Be there.
Be there. Be there.
Be naked.
naked.
Yay! We've done it.